Steelers move to 7-4. Bengals fall to 5-6. The Steelers went over 400 yards of offense.
For the first time in 58 games, only 45 of which were under Matt Canada. So Canada was 0 for 45 in 400-yard games.
So it wasn't just him.
No. And then there were 13 previous games before Canada arrived where they hadn't hit 400 yards either.
You were right, though. You were right. You said we would see a new offense.
Play number 1. First play, shot over the middle to Pat Freiermuth up the seam. Like, this was a play that didn't exist in the Matt Canada school of offense. Like, number 1 play was a shot down the middle in a route that didn't really exist under the Canada offense. They had another one, first or second drive as well. Kenny Pickett starts the game 6 for 6. They had 149 yards in the first quarter. They were on pace for 600 after the first quarter. I mean, this was a different offense.
It was the preseason offense. This is why people were optimistic about the Steelers. Because Kenny Pickett did throw seam routes to Pat Freiermuth in the preseason.
I am people.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we were like, Matt Canada's changed.
Yeah.
He had 200. No. We were thinking he had 200 days, this offseason to evaluate his offense and think, oh, look, there's grass and turf in between these two numbers. It exists. We can use that. We can exploit it. We have a tight end who's pretty good running the seam. We have George Pickens, who might be more than just a contested catch receiver who could play in the slot, which also exists in between those two numbers. So, yeah, the Steelers did it. Now, the humorous part in all of this is they moved the ball extremely well, still only scored 16 points, and at one point had 3.
Yeah.
A lot of yards and only 3 points. So they weren't converting, in part because Deontay Johnson got hit in the hands. Like it is funny how often he does not score touchdowns.
Well, they had this crazy sequence where Kenny Pickett hits Deontay Johnson in the end zone for a touchdown, and it's in his hands. He takes the 2 steps, and then it was Turner, right? DJ Turner forced the ball out.
Ripped it out.
Right at the end. So when he went to ground, it didn't count, right? It comes out at the end. Now, in this world of like 2 feet down and blah, blah, in the end zone, is that a touchdown? Is it not? Whatever. Didn't stand. They didn't challenge it either. They let it go. And then the very next play, fumble. Jalen Warren fumbles the ball away. DJ Turner, again, scoops it up and returns at a decent degree, in part because Deontay Johnson appeared so pissed off at the previous play that he was just standing there in the slot, doing nothing.
He took to Twitter.
Both before and after the fumble, by the way.
Yeah.
I get that you might not have seen the fumble that occurred right next to your feet, right? And you thought the play was dead or whatever, so you didn't react. Cool. Having said that, from the slot on a run play, you were just standing there chatting to the slot corner. That doesn't look great.
So he took to quote tweeting some of the aggregators that highlighted that. Did he come after you? Because you highlighted it too.
I don't believe so. I mean, I might not have. Maybe I've muted him. I haven't seen.
Yeah. So he came to Twitter.
Let's find out. What did he say?
I mean, he didn't really defend himself. It was just like, I don't know why he would highlight that video. I wouldn't want other people to. I mean, the only explanation there is he thought, like you said, thought the play was dead.
Yes.
And even with the ball bouncing right past him, thought that the play was dead for some reason.
Yes.
But it wasn't a great look.
Yeah, I don't buy.
In a week where there were, rumblings of fights in the locker room and arguments, including Deontay.
Yeah, I don't buy that he didn't see it because it bounced right next to him and he was kind of looking that direction. And then even at the end, like even when he suddenly realizes stuff's up, he turns his head to look at it and then goes, nah, whatever. There were multiple instances of I'm not interested in this play. And it occurred right next to the one where he maybe scored a touchdown and it wasn't looked at. So there were reasons for him to not be happy. There was another play in this game as well where he ran an out route. There was a coverage bust. He was wide open on the sideline and the ball went the other direction. This is the kind of play. Now there was a string of them, but this is the kind of play that got Chase Claypool run out of Pittsburgh eventually. It was like this, just standing there not doing anything.
It's just a constant the Jon Snow meme where he pulls out the sword and he's taking on the entire army. That's like Mike Tomlin in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, but they're drafting them. They're your own wide receivers. You're the guys that keep going after these people.
I know. It does go back to the chicken or the egg thing. Are you creating these people or are you finding them?
Or
are you bringing them in?
Wide receiver energy succubus.
You're just
keeps destroying them.
Give me all these talented guys, I'll, make it work. Anyway, the Steelers won, man, and they did move the ball pretty effectively. Kenny Pickett with a really good game. Like, this was the first time Kenny Pickett, he had no touchdowns because of the Deontay Johnson thing, but Kenny Pickett kind of had like a real stat line.
Right.
It wasn't one of those, 16 for 29 for 140, and he never has turnover-worthy plays or interceptions or whatever. He still has the lowest touchdown percentage in history because Deontay Johnson did not hold that ball. But 24 for 33 for 278 for Kenny Pickett.
8.4 yards per attempt.
8.4 yards per attempt. 2 absolute dimes. One to Pickens, dropped in a bucket on the slot fade. One to Deontay Johnson on a fade on the other side. Yep. There were some big plays in there. Freiermuth had the 9 catches for 120. We've been calling for Jaylen Warren having more carries, and in this particular game, it was Najee Harris that outperformed Jaylen Warren. Warren lost a fumble, had only 49 yards, 3.8 a pop. Najee did a really nice job. Forced a missed tackle. He did. The Bengals' second-level defenders just didn't play great against the run. Najee Harris outrunning them to the edge a couple times, getting into the end zone, breaking a tackle. Najee finishes with 99 yards on 15 carries and a touchdown, his best game in a while.
Yeah. Trey Hendrickson hasn't been the same player since injuring that knee, somebody rolled into him a couple weeks ago. Like, he played last week, last game, he had a sack, and that was a really nice play, but it was basically his only play of the game. Second straight game where he's basically had, I think, the same thing, right? He had a sack, but nothing else. So, like, Trey Hendrickson was playing maybe not quite at that insane 6 players playing at Defensive Player of the Year kind of standard, but he was like the next guy up in that list of guys who were playing at an insane level. And he's not anymore, and that's a big loss to that defense.
On the other side, it was Jake Browning's first start for the Bengals. A couple plays where he's holding the ball quite a while, including a sack where T.J. Watt comes in late for the strip sack. T.J. Watt also had a really quick sack in there as well. A couple nice plays by T.J. Browning, bad interception coming out of the half. That hurt. For a guy we mentioned before, he made a couple nice plays under pressure in this game, but a couple of his big plays also just came off tip passes. Balls landed right in Jamar Chase's hands for a big gain. For a guy that has to just play clean football, and by clean, that has to be, not taking negative plays, not turning the ball over, just not enough clean play from Jake Browning in this one.
No, it was. T.J. Watt, I thought, had a spectacular game. I mean, he's been a strange player the last couple of years where he tends to have these really high impact single play games, like the high leverage plays, the strip sacks, the turnovers, etc. Doesn't necessarily get the volume of pressure that some of these other guys get, but he had a ton of pressure, had the high impact plays, like just a complete T.J. Watt game.
Man, the Steelers are fascinating. 7-4. Cardinals at home next week. Patriots the following week. Could be 9-4 here.
Yeah.
With this new look offense that puts up over 400 yards
every week
in a football game, in one game, not
every
over
week.
2 games.
100%.
100% of the time without Matt Canada. I mean, Matt Canada was also 2-1 from the sideline.
Yeah, but that's only 66%.
That's true. They're undefeated since Canada's firing. 16-10. Steelers with the win here.